Hi, everybody. It's September already, and we are here to do every third Tuesday. Jonathan and myself will take you through. And today's topic is we are going to talk about attestation and the use of the attestation function within clock in and clock out. So, Jonathan, over to you.
All right, so first thing I'm going to do is explain what all that actually means, right? So right now we have the various functions within NoahFace. So when you go through and configure your access point type or the behavior of the iPad, you have to pick one of these options, okay? So right now, if you want clock in, clock out, which is what most of our people use, or most of the customers use, you get a lot of features that you guys care about. So one, this is going to keep the status of the employee, so it's going to know whether they're clocked in or clocked out. Okay. But it gives you things of, auto ending a shift. So if somebody didn't punch out for the day, the next day it will automatically put them in for an in punch. That way you only have one field to fix instead of a whole slew of fields to fix. You get the minimum break feature. There's a couple of different things in here: data entry, collection, all that kind of stuff that you get out of clock in and clock out. We also have the compliance screen. It can function as a clock, but it's very basic. It doesn't know whether the user's clocked in or clocked out. You can't use any of the break settings. All those things that are in clock in and clock out, you're out of luck when you're doing compliance. So we've started to combine the clock in and clock out with the compliance feature. Okay. So that way you get the safety messages or whatever the business needs as far as, getting an acceptance or a consent from the employee saying, hey, I agree to these terms in order to work today. You get that feature with all the benefits of the clock in, clock out that you're already using. So for example, we have three methods. We have the tick box or checkbox option. We have the yes or no option. And then we have where you can pull down an image from a website. Okay. So with this clock in, clock out feature, it currently only works with the checkbox and the web page. It does not work with yes, no. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you the two methods of how we can use it with the checkbox and then how we can also use it with an image on the internet. Okay. So first thing that's in here, I've got my iPad here that I'm going to be using. Let me go into the first config so you can see what this looks like. So I'm going to do the checkboxes one first. The top stuff you can ignore. That's all your standard stuff. You're already configuring that however the customer wants. Okay. What we care about now is this screen type. So before, if you wanted to do compliance, you would have picked compliance. If you want to do clock in, clock out, you pick that. But now you can do compliance features with clock in, clock out. So with this one, I'm using the break mode where it presents the break option to the employees. Okay. And then everything below that is going to be the same settings you would have used in compliance. So we're going to name the sentence, and I'll show you what that looks like. We're also going to name the button. We're telling it here to go ahead and check all the boxes so the employees don't have to do that every time they clock in. They just click the confirm button, and then we have our policies. So what I'm focusing on today is site safety. This is all customizable though. So whatever the client's needing, if you want COVID questions, if you want this kind of question, you want that kind of question, whatever you want that to be, whatever the customer needs, again, totally customizable for you. Okay. You also still get the same capability of determining how frequent these questions come up. Do you want them, every X days? Do you want them all the time? Do you want them once a day? Do you want them random? Just only one time? You have all those same features that are in here. So we've got three questions or three policies, okay, that we've laid out here. And that's all we're going to do. So let me set this to 10 seconds, and I'm going to go and tell my access point to use that new configuration. Now, you see all this stuff here in the list. This is because I do demos all the time. You're not going to have these already pre-configured. You'll need to configure your own. That's why I'm here. So if you ever need any assistance with any of that, we'd be more than happy to help. But you'll only see what you have configured for the customer. So I'm going to use the checkboxes and update that. And then I'm going to open NoahFace. It's going to go grab its new config. Okay, so I'm going to put my face in front of the screen now. And it's going to tell me I'm in break mode, and this is what break mode looks like. So my only option is to clock in because it knows I'm clocked out at the moment. So I'm going to clock in. And then the next thing it presents me with are these questions. So up at the top, it says you can acknowledge these policies and press the accept button. Again, you can change the wording of whatever you want that to be. Let me do that one more time. So these are already pre-checked, so that way they can just simply hit the accept button. Okay. So that is the checkbox version and what that looks like. I want to clock back out for the next screen. Let me show you what the web version looks like. So again, the top's all the same basic settings, okay? Here I'm also doing break mode again, but if I wanted to put in, you know, another setting for like minimum break time is 30 minutes or whatever, you can do all that. So what I'm calling here, and I don't know if a lot of you have used this feature or not in the compliance, but you can pull down an image from a website. So that's what we're doing here is we're specifying this URL, okay, the address of the image we want. And then you can modify the size of the image to make it look correct on the iPad. And then you've got a policy name and then whatever you want to call the button, okay? Change that over to 10 seconds. I'm going to switch the access point to use the new one. So with web image, update that. I'm going to close NoahFace, reopen it. So it'll grab its new config. Okay, I'm going to present myself. I'm going to clock in now. And now it's pulled this image down from the internet, okay, from the actual URL that we gave. And you can customize this out. So if the customer needs something specific, then they can make a graphic, you can make a graphic, whatever you want. It just needs to be available on the internet. First time that this loads, it will load. You'll see the actual image load for a second. After that, it's cached on the machine, on the iPad, and it will stay there. So it'll load instantly like what you're seeing now, okay? But this can be anything that you need it to be. Again, ours was focused on site safety. Yours could be COVID related. It could say, you agree to wear a mask at all times, whatever. Anything that the customer may need. So they simply click that, they click agree, and they move forward, and that's it.
So let me just add something to what Jonathan said. So at one level, we could be using Attestation for really important detailed information, which is, okay, are you sure you're wearing goggles? Are you sure you're wearing a mask? Are you sure you've got, your steel cap boots on, etc.? Like really, really important questions. Yes, yes, yes. And then a record is kept of that. And if there ends up being an accident, then there is at least this physical or this data record or data trail that confirms that Jonathan was, agreeing to and adhering to all of those policies. On the flip side is what he just said is it could be just a much more simple, friendly message. So using, for instance, this PDF or this photograph, like he was just showing, imagine if it was, for instance, just a, hey, friendly reminder, you should always wear a mask when you're in the common areas of the building, and just tick agree, right? So with this visual or this rich graphic, you have the opportunity to still be hardcore on the questions, but you can also be much softer and more friendly if you want. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, good. Jenna, people on the call, any questions about this feature of clock in and clock out with attestation? Any concerns or questions you have at this stage? All right, I'll assume that no noise makes sense. So now I just wanted to spend a minute. We get a lot of questions about InTouch, which is of course the UKG ready clock versus NoahFace. And of course, there's a lot of clocks that different resellers and different clients can use. And I'm not going into all of them. I just thought it would make sense to look at InTouch because it is the most sort of popular or the most prominent clock within the UKG world, and just look at it against NoahFace. So at a very, very high level, as you know, InTouch has been around for a while, and then the DX was first presented or discussed back in 2019. And it has a bunch of features that are, coming. Apparently, facial recognition is coming with DX, etc. But if you stand up and you look at a very high level, what is InTouch versus what is NoahFace? In our opinion, InTouch is a terminal. It's a device. It's this. It does have some options, but it really is a pretty static terminal device. Whereas NoahFace, even though it comes in an iPad, it is a much more dynamic platform. And the platform, which is dynamic, enables you to do a lot of stuff, have a lot of configuration, a lot of flexibility, etc. So let's just go in under the hood and look a little bit like that. So at the core, these products are sort of similar or the same in that they're time clocks. They both have a mobile option. They both work with UKG Ready. They both offer cost centers. They both offer attestation. So that's where they're similar or the same. But when you go down to the next level, they're actually very different with everything else. So let's just look at that in a second. So this is a combination of what we think and what UKG puts on their website. So we characterize the InTouch device as really a deep payroll device. Of course, it collects punches like NoahFace does, but it enables users and managers to perform a variety of payroll and shift functions so that they can, for instance, navigate schedules and requests and time off and all of that sort of stuff. NoahFace doesn't do any of that. NoahFace is not a deep payroll device. InTouch also lets you add some other options and features, whether it's thumbprint readers, fingerprint readers, and as I said before, facial is coming. And these are just upgrades and these are additional things. NoahFace does not do anything that's on this sheet, obviously, other than facial, but we don't do any of that. So let's look at what NoahFace does do. And I've split this really into two categories. So first and foremost, there's a bunch of features that we offer that you can't get out of InTouch. Yes, it's touchless, it's lightning fast. You have the ability to use voice activation. You do have touch options, which of course is what InTouch is. And while 99% of people use NoahFace for its facial recognition, you can identify people with other means, such as an ID or an employee number. You can hold a QR code up. You can do multi-factor authentication. You can use another device, such as your cell phone, to activate it. And then within that, in the registration feature, we have 13 registration options, all the way from highly managed by the HR department or some manager, all the way down to complete self-registration and everywhere in between. A couple of the key benefits that NoahFace has that no other clocks, including InTouch, have. It operates offline, and that means if you have patchy internet, if your power's dropped out, or UKG is doing some scheduled maintenance, NoahFace is going to keep collecting. Number two, group punching, the ability for one person to clock in and clock out their entire team themselves from their device, with or without internet. Doing that off the iPad is possible. As you're aware, we have a thermal screening upgrade that does require additional equipment or hardware. There are some additional fees, but we do offer that highly accurate thermal screening upgrade. And then we also have the ability to integrate and extend into other systems of access control, visitor management, and attendance. So this is just a quick run through of what are the key feature differences between NoahFace and InTouch. Now let's look at the business models. Firstly, InTouch, you need to go and buy a device, and that clock is some thousands of dollars to begin with. Whereas NoahFace, you buy an iPad, the standard iPad, which is $329, and then you have SaaS fees. And those SaaS fees are both per device per month and also per user per month. Number two, we really include everything. And the only exception, the only asterisk to everything is the fact that if you want to do thermal, that costs more money. But 98% of all of our business is non-thermal. And included in that is all of the features and benefits from the previous page, plus unlimited training, onboarding, support, everything at no cost. So there's no extra fees ever. We provide our resellers with complete billing flexibility. We wholesale price to them, and then they charge their clients as is appropriate. And then on top of that, we do offer volume discounts to our resellers. We offer a great range of free trials, and we encourage all of our resellers to promote those free trials and do it when it makes sense to them. In the very first month of each client, there will never be any partial billing. So we'll only ever charge you for the complete month, and that happens during the second month. And also within our reseller agreement, there's no upfront fees, there's no guarantees, there's no minimums. It's really a completely flexible model in that way. So I mentioned before that NoahFace is a living, breathing, dynamic platform. And you can check this. Just go to the NoahFace app, click on the button that says latest, and you will see that we are constantly upgrading, extending, developing, enhancing the product. And this year alone, since the 5th of February, there has been 25 upgrades and developments done to the NoahFace platform. All of these are improvements and upgrades. There's very little fixing and bugs going on here. It's mostly about adding new features. And that features, or those improvements and developments, they are driven by what our customers, our partners, and our resellers are telling us. They give us information that says it would be great if you could do that. And sometimes or often we are able to develop the product and improve it to make that happen. A couple of things that we're working on right now that are on the pretty sort of soon horizon is there will be some language capabilities coming up. So we'll talk about that next month. And what that means is that if your language of choice in Ready is Spanish, then you can have that as your chosen language within NoahFace. We are working right now on if there's a possibility to collect or include some COVID-related data within the platform, and whether that means scanning barcodes, such as we have here in California, issued by Smart Health, whether that means just recording. We're looking at some of these things, but the bottom line is that we're constantly trying to make NoahFace better, and that means responding to your needs. Next slide, please, Jonathan. So the bottom line summary on these two products, they're both very good. They both work very well, but they're quite different. You always have, as some of our resellers do, the ability to operate these two clocks on the same network or within the same client. So if you've got a client that needs 10 clocks, it might make sense to have 3 of one type and 7 of the other, rather than 10 identical clocks. That's one thing. And then secondarily, as you're talking to your customers, if they're intrigued or interested in considering NoahFace, it's always easy to run a test drive or to put a NoahFace clock into their ecosystem and just run it side by side. And we've seen this where in a break room, there'll be an InTouch clock on one wall and we'll run a NoahFace clock on the other wall and just watch the behavior, watch how the employees react. So that's our quick sort of review on InTouch. Is there InTouch versus NoahFace? Is there any questions about what I went through? No. Okie doke. I think this was our this was our 7th every third Tuesday. Might have been our 8th.
This is 8.
This is number 8. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 9 is coming up in October, and we'll be covering some new stuff going on. And I just wanted to thank you all for your support, your partnership, and your business. And we are always here to help with anything, whether it's going through InTouch versus NoahFace, whether it's going through how you use Attestation in, clock out, or anything else. We're here to help. And thanks so much, everybody.